Holy banana bread, this is going to be a good one. Today we're going to be talking about REITs, and we're going to explain, first of all, why they pay so well, and second of all, why they should be a part of your dividend investing portfolio. Welcome to Financial Brew. My name is Candace, and as always, I'll be your guide as we take one more trip into the financial verse. So as I said earlier, this is going to be a fun one. Not fun so much in the way that I've got a bunch of jokes and fun stuff. It's kind of boring material, but it'll add some fun to your portfolio. So that's kind of where we're going with that. Anyway, REIT investing. First of all, what is a REIT? Well, a REIT is simply this. It's a real estate investment trust. So real estate investment trust. And what that basically means is it's giving you a tool to add some exposure to the real estate market into your portfolio. So that's pretty cool. Now, of course, at the same time, it doesn't come with all of those management responsibilities that landlords and landowners have to deal with. You don't have the properties, the headaches of property management. You don't have to go pounding on doors asking for your rent. And there's, of course, repairs and plumbing and all that. You don't have to handle any of that at all. You simply collect your dividends. As you can guess, it is a very good source of passive income. And not only that, it's one of those assets that will pay you monthly dividends. As far as I know, I haven't actually run into a REIT that pays quarterly. I'm sure there's probably at least one or two out there, but I don't know which ones they are at this moment. So most of them will be paying you monthly, which is always good for the motivation. It's nice to see money flowing in constantly, for sure. But we haven't really answered the question, what is a REIT? So what exactly is a REIT? Well, it's basically simply this. It's a group of properties bundled together that acts, and I say acts like a real estate ETF, but it is not an ETF. And I can't stress that enough because there are tax implications of REITs that are different than ETFs, and we'll get to that in just a little bit here. The management fees on REITs are very, very low, so they're nothing like, well, you got mutual funds at one end where you have very high management fees. Most ETFs are not too bad. REITs, you pretty much don't even notice any management fees because, well, for one, any fees that the company is management fees are being taken out before they even calculate the div, so it's not like something you're going to see. So that's pretty cool. There's also a lot of stability when it comes to these REITs, and that's because they'll buy a pool of properties. Once they have those properties, if one or two of them are just acting up and not performing correctly, the others will make up for it. Simple as that. So you get that diversification in the properties within the REIT itself that pays dividends to you. It really helps keep that REIT paying out every month, which is what we want, obviously, from our end. Now, there are different types of REITs. So you can have commercial REITs, retail, hotel, industrial, healthcare, housing and apartments, and you can also have a combination of those. So there can be some mixed REITs as well. So, and this is important, like when you're picking your portfolio together, you can actually diversify even within REITs. So, you could perhaps have like a commercial REIT, maybe an industrial REIT, maybe a healthcare REIT, just different ones, put them together, because then if one of those sectors does have some issues, it won't affect all of your REITs. It would only affect the REIT from that sector. So diversification is hugely important. So how can REITs pay so well? It's actually really easy. It comes down to the process and the way that they handle their money, right from investment to paying you. So it starts, of course, when you invest in them. They will take that money that's invested in them, and they will use that, of course, to help fund their business. So they may, for example, if they want to buy more properties, they'll use some of their investment money as capital to do that. So what happens next, though, is that they collect the rent from all of these properties. Then they'll pay off their expenses, and that will then leave them with their profits. And of course, this money is taxable. here's what makes things a little bit interesting. By paying out those profits in dividends, they can avoid paying the taxes on them. And in effect, they pass the tax burden on to you. That's the reason that a REIT is not remotely like an ETF, even though it's kind of the same idea of bundling things together, because it has completely different tax implications. With an ETF, the money, the profits that you receive, taxes have already been paid on those. So that's why, they're treated as simply capital gains. But in this case, it's completely different. Because of this, REIT dividends are taxed at the full marginal rate. And all that means is that it's 100% taxable, 100% income. Holy banana bread, huh? So what do we do? Well, this can easily be solved by placing them in either your TFSA or your RRSP. So you want to put them in a registered account that doesn't pay taxes. Because otherwise, you're going to be paying full taxes, not just on 50%. You're going to be paying 100% of the tax bill. So that's the solution. So whenever you are investing in REITs, put them in one of your registered accounts. Absolutely put them in one of your registered accounts. So we'll talk about some of the top REITs in Canada. Now, I know a few of you are probably like, ooh, here's some great stock opportunities. Well, just keep in mind that I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just providing this information just so that you can get a glimpse of some of these REITs. Always do your own research. So the first one we'll talk about is called Choice Properties. So it's chp.un. And you notice that .un, you're going to see that on pretty well every REIT out there. So Choice Properties, they have a nice yield of 5.03%. So that's a pretty good amount of dividends that you'd be receiving monthly. They are the ones who have Loblaws. So Loblaws rents from Choice Properties. So they're mostly retail and commercial investment. They're very stable. I mean, they've got the good type of retail. So Choice Properties is definitely a strong choice for your portfolio. It's definitely a good company. Wow, what could be number two? Well, it's H&R. So HR.UN, they have a nice yield of 4.08%. It's not quite as impressive as Choice Properties, but they have very solid multi-sector investments. And that's always a good thing. You know that's going to basically say that they're going to, even in the worst times, they're probably going to still be handing out their dividend without any issues. So those are ones that are nice because those make me think about the old blue chip investing, which is good. All right. Now our third one is Plaza Retail. So PLZ or PLZ.UN. And they have a very, very healthy yield of 6.11%. So that is pretty darn awesome. Now with these guys, and this is once again, they've got some staples, some Canadian staples in here. They've got Tim Hortons, they've got Canadian Tire and Dollarama. So they're renting to all of these guys. And we all know, I mean, there's more Tim Hortons out there than you can shake a stick at. So Plaza Retail, I think they're also going to be they're going to be around for a while. They're definitely going to be a juggernaut for a good investment portfolio. Okay, let's go to number 4. So number 4, we have Slate Grocery. Now, Slate Grocery, SGR.UN, they have an insanely massive yield of 8.11%. That's cool. But what the heck are these guys investing in? Well, they're actually heavily invested in the American retail, including Kroger, which is a big chain in the U.S., and Walmart. So they just have a solid investment. And the nice thing about them is that even though it's American companies, this is all still Canadian. This is still a Canadian REIT, which is awesome. So you're getting some American exposure without having to deal with any of the complications. And we're going to talk a tiny bit about the U.S. in just a second. So we have one left because I'm doing 5. So the last one left is completely cut under my head, but it's RioCan. So RIOCAN. The ticker is REI.UN. They have a yield of 4.76%. Now, they also have very diverse holdings, and they have a very strong volume on the account that everybody just loves RioCan. You can talk to a lot of seasoned investors. If you talk to them, it's like, what's your favorite REIT? RioCan always comes up. People just love RioCan, which it doesn't, even though it doesn't give the greatest a dividend. Now, RioCan used to actually give a higher yield, but when the human malware thing came around, they did reduce their dividend a little bit. But they're still a solid company. They're very affordable, and for some reason, they are just everybody's favorite. Now, one that didn't make this list, and I'm just going to mention them very quickly as well, is Northwest Health, so NWH.UN. They're in the health sector, so I like them because it's just a good way to get some diversification into the health sector. I really wanted to add them to this list, but it didn't make sense completely. Like their dividend yield is it's under 5, but it's still it's a very solid company, so they're worth looking into as well. So Northwest Health, NWH. Okay, so those are the top REITs in Canada. And I mentioned as well, we're going to talk a little bit about American REITs. Now, it's interesting that REITs work a little bit differently in America than they do here. So for one, in America, by law, that REIT is required to pay out at least 90% of their taxable income as dividends. Now, we pretty much do the same thing here, but it's not actually written into the law. But in the U.S., it is the law. And in the U.S., the way they break it apart is they break it into 3 different classes: equity, mortgage, and hybrid. It's not super important right now, these classes. They still have the same sectors as we do, and it's pretty much everything works mostly the same. But the big thing about the American REITs is that we have to really take into consideration the taxes. So if you're a Canadian and you're holding American REITs, they're taxed as foreign income at the full marginal rate. So it's the same as Canadian REITs. Canadian REITs, you're paying 100% unless you got them in a registered account. Same thing with the United States. You're going to be paying them as, you're going to pay the full marginal rate, but you also have a 15% withholding fee or withholding tax that you pay when you receive these dividends from the U.S. So that's kind of a bit of an issue. Now, there are workarounds. One workaround is, of course, if you look at the TFSA. Now, the TFSA, it's great. You're not going to have to pay the taxes on it, but you still have to pay the 15% withholding tax. And that's because the TFSA is not recognized by America as a registered account. They only recognize RRSPs. So what that means is that if you're holding American REITs and you want them tax-free and you don't want to pay withholding tax, they need to be in your RRSP. So that's kind of really, really important. So like I said, TFSA, you're still paying the 15% U.S. withholding tax. And the tax-free place for an American REIT is in your RRSP. So that's where you want to put those. That way there you're not paying a ton on them. Now, before we go, I just want to point a couple of things out. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, definitely join Financial Brew on Facebook. We do a lot of stuff there. I also release a lot of my schedules and give you sneak peeks of different things. So you definitely want to do that. In addition, we also have a mailing list. I'll put a link down below for that. Basically, it's a once-a-week email. I just send it out. It's completely free. It just shows you what videos popped out in the last week. So if you missed one, you may see it in there. Also, of course, if you hit like, subscribe, maybe knock on that little bell as well, you'll know when I'm dropping out the new videos. And if you want to begin investing in REITs today, don't forget to sign up for Wealth Simple. Using my referral code down below, you'll get 2 free stocks. I will get 1 free stock, so you'll get twice as much as I get. But it's pretty much Canada's best zero commission platform. So, what are you waiting for? Jump down there, grab that referral code, get signed up with Wealthsimple today. Okay, I think that's going to be it for today. So once again, my name is Candace. Thank you very much for taking another trip with me into the financial verse. I will see you in the next video.